Hello, and welcome back for episode number 37 of Mysteries and Beliefs podcast with John Carter. Today on the show, my co-host, or sometimes Lisa.
Hi.
Today we'll be talking about if we had an opportunity to live on Mars, would we?
Would we?
That is the question. And do you know how far Mars is away from us?
Nope.
It is 121,023 miles away from us.
So how many years would it take to get there?
It's not years now. With the technology we have, it's a little bit better than that. It's only 7 to 8 months to get to Mars.
Okay, not bad.
Not bad. Would you take that trip?
I would. 7 months.
But you can't come back, though.
Then I wouldn't take the trip.
That's the thing. Right now, the Mars trip is only a one-way trip.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. And why would I go to the moon? I mean, go to the Mars right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you had the opportunity, would you, though?
Yeah, no.
If you were the first people to get on a spaceship or SpaceX to go to Mars, you wouldn't take that opportunity to do it?
No. Unless I had it, well, I was about to say unless I had all adult children, but I would have to have.
You do have all adult children.
I do, but I wasn't finished. But I would also have to have some grandchildren that knew me. I don't want them to hear stories about me. So the answer would be no.
But you'd be cool, though. My grandma lived on Mars.
No, that's not the same.
No, you don't think so?
Mm-mm. Would you go?
Before I answer that, let's go through the discussion of Mars and how to get there before I'd answer anything about Mars.
Okay.
Now, just like I mentioned a moment ago, it takes about 7 months for us to get to Mars. And right now we have a rover that is on Mars. It landed in 2013, something like that.
Yeah.
I think they said 7 years, I believe, is when it landed. But it's only gone 13 miles exploring the Mars surface. That is it. 13 miles.
You're saying that is it. Like that's not a feat in of itself.
Come on, for all that many years, that's all it went was 13 miles.
The atmosphere, the terrain. You have to take that into consideration.
Well,
there might be aliens up there messing around with it.
Well, I think one of the problems that we have with it, because they take soil samples and different things, the communication between us and the rover is the reason why it takes so long. So if they want to maneuver the rover, then it takes 45 minutes just to communicate with it.
Right.
So if it's doing something that's going to take several hours and then it communicates with us, it takes an additional 45 minutes to get back. So that's a 90-minute turnaround.
Sure.
Just to do anything with this rover.
Right.
But the Mars rover that's on its way there now is called Perseverance. They launched it this past July.
Who's they?
NASA.
Okay. Just checking, because Elon Musk has.
Well, no, but Elon Musk is working on things now. This is.
And the Dutch, don't forget. I'm just saying. Okay. You said they.
Before we continue, everyone, we're talking about the U.S. government.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
So we're only going to discuss U.S. government and the United States and Americans going to Mars. So our government launched the Perseverance rover July 30th, 2020, and it's due to land next week, February 18th, 2021.
Okay.
But with this Mars rover, it's going to have more AI technology on it.
Sure.
So it's going to be able to make its own decisions. So you don't have to depend on someone here on Earth.
Right.
So if it picks up soil samples, it'll go around things, it'll go up mountains or whatever they plan for it to do. Much, much better. As far as getting to humans, I think, yeah, it's still 7 months to get that craft there because you can go straight there with machinery.
Sure.
But with us, it's a little different because we're going to need food and all that stuff to travel, bathroom, water. Currently, technology that we have to get to Mars in 2020, well, we're at the beginning of 2021, they have an Orion deep space craft that they have now for the U.S. government.
Okay.
And this spacecraft will take humans to Mars, but this is based on having space station on the moon.
Okay.
It'll go to the moon and then bounce over to Mars. Now, Elon Musk even talked about this before. Just like back in the day when stagecoaches used to go from state to state, they had these changing stations where they refreshed their horses, refreshed their food, and all that stuff, and got supplies. So that's what Elon Musk talked about before doing. So kind of hopping from one changing station to the next changing station in order to get to Mars. So that way we can refuel. But everything right now is based on the rocket fuel that we use right now. So the liquid rocket fuel, that's what everything that we have is based on. That's why it takes us so long, because we don't have the technology. And the other ways that NASA they're looking at getting this done, and I think they're projecting about 2030, they're looking at using nuclear propulsion engines. With the nuclear propulsion engines, it'll cut the time in half from either traveling from Earth or traveling from the moon to Mars. So instead of, 7-8 months, it'll be 4 months or so.
Why are you touching the moon?
They want to have a base on the moon so they can hop from the moon to Mars, because it takes so much because of Earth's gravity to get up to the moon or into outer space. And if we had stations on the moon, we could possibly have another vehicle with a different type of engine for deep space travel on the moon, can pop from there to whatever planet that we're going to go to. But today we're discussing Mars.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I do. I mean,
sure?
I take issue with it, but I'm okay. I follow I'm following the discussion, but that's my opinion is neither here nor there, because that's not what we're talking about.
And other engines that they're looking at using, or scientists have been working on, are light sails, which is just basically what it sounds like, a light sail. So like a little thin sheet where the sun would hit it and actually propel it along.
Okay.
Or we could take little lasers and beam it at the light sail and propel the craft along.
That's actually pretty cool.
So that's something that they looked at. And another thing would be EM or ion drive. These ion particles that will they said it takes a long time for the engine to get up to speed. But once it gets up to speed, it just perpetually continues to go. That's another way that we can use as far as what some of the scientists are talking about. I don't know if they're for sure if they're working on these light sails or ion drives to get us to Mars, but that's something that they talked about. And again, they estimated us getting there or starting to put astronauts in 2030.
Okay.
It's a long process. Look at it now. We couldn't even imagine being on Mars because there's nothing there.
Right.
It's cold as shit.
Yeah.
It's just dry. There's no gravity, a bunch of radiation. That's all you have. So when the astronauts get there, they're going to have to prepare it for humans to be able to colonate.
Right.
Just normal humans, not just scientists, just regular old people. But even before we start to do that, they're going to test the equipment on the moon. And it's pretty cool. I've been looking at some things about NASA right now has 6 new technologies, which I'll put links in the show notes for this. The first one that they have like an RV. They're going to have labs on wheels. So the astronauts can live in these RVs and just kind of travel around and explore and do their tests and things that they're going to need to do once they get to Mars. And we also already talked about the propulsion system. They're looking at, and this is based off of what NASA's new technologies is. They're looking at the nuclear propulsion system. Again, will cut the travel time in half from either Earth or the moon to Mars. The third thing that they have is inflatable heat shields. And we've seen like the spacecraft's reentry to the Earth, how they come in and they get hot on the bottom.
Right.
So what these heat shields do, once it hits the atmosphere, well, not even atmosphere, but once they drop it down towards the planet of Mars, this thing will deploy. It'll absorb all that heat. So when the astronauts go through whatever, I don't know what would cause the friction between, getting to the ground. I don't know if it's just the speed because there's no gravity or anything, or the gravity is much less than is here. but it will reduce the amount of heat during reentry of it. Another thing is they invented a couple of new suits. They've invented a suit that's more mobile because, you've seen the ones that they look
big
like
jumbo spaces,
big jumbo robots.
Sauna suits.
Yeah, but, the arms are just kind of like out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Look, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Right.
So they invented more suits that's more mobile for the astronauts because you're going to have to do a lot of work on Mars because we're going to depend a lot on robotics to build things there. We're going to depend on robotics a lot when we get there. So, but the astronauts are still going to have to set things up when they arrive to Mars as well.
Sure.
So the suits are a little bit more mobile than they used to be. And even with the nuclear propulsion system that they have designed, they're going to use the same technology for energy because we're going to need some type of electricity or some type of energy on Mars. Instead of using solar panels, they're going to use the nuclear technology that's developed in the same technology that was developed in the nuclear propulsion system. And that way we'll have power for a much longer time because it's not always sunny. Also, they have dust storms on Mars too. The dust storms is going to cover up the sun. And of course, if there's no sun, solar panels are absolutely no good. The last thing I'll talk about is, as far as the technologies from NASA, is the communication. We spoke about this earlier, that it takes 45 minutes round trip to get communication from the Mars rover to Earth and back. So it's 90-minute turnaround. With the new technology, they're going to use lasers, and the lasers can carry a lot more information much quicker to Earth.
Okay.
So if it needs to communicate with astronauts or even a rover that's going to be on Mars next week, those are some positive attributes to our exploration to Mars.
Sure.
So
very motivating.
So it looks promising. It looks very, 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 very promising. But with Elon Musk, of course, everybody out there, if you know who Elon Musk is, he has SpaceX. The thing about Elon Musk and SpaceX, his goal is to get, I think he said, about 10,000 of these things by 2050 to actually carry people to Mars. That's his goal. With the crafts that he has now, he can reuse parts of the spacecraft because a lot of times, or a lot of the pieces that we use, they just eject them off of the rocket and they just go into
the ocean.
No, if it goes into the ocean, they can recover it. But if they let it go in space, what happens to it? It just becomes more space junk.
Sure.
So we have a bunch of space junk out there.
We have a ton of space junk, and not just from this country.
No, all over the world.
Sure.
Parts of it will return back to Earth to be reused. So some of the things that Elon Musk is doing is using reusable rocket parts, which will make it cheaper for space travel.
Right. Well, that's the idea anyway, right?
Yeah, that is the idea because it costs like some odd $1 million per pound to carry something to space right now is what it costs in the United States. And even just with some of the other companies, the same thing. If it becomes privatized, which it is becoming more privatized, that the cost will go down. So it's still going to be mad expensive to do it, especially at first.
Right.
But then the reasons why we're working on going to Mars,
for our second planet when we've destroyed the Earth.
Not only we destroy the Earth, but that is correct for a second planet for us to survive.
We're not habitable. It'll be an alternative.
Yeah.
And because we're also greedy.
Yeah, that too. They're going to screw up this planet.
We're like, what's his name in Star Trek? You will be assimilated.
The Borg?
We're the Borg. That's what we are.
That's funny. Resistance is futile.
Yeah. You saw what they did on, what's his name? Picard. So on Picard, you saw what they did to that planet.
Yeah.
That's gonna be Earth.
Yeah. Oh my God. You haven't watched any of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., have you?
No, just some of it in the first season.
Kind of a spoiler alert. There's an episode, it's a series of episodes where they go into the future and the Earth is broken all apart.
Well, there you go.
And
similar to the burn on Discovery.
Yeah.
That's it.
Instead of living on Mars, they're living on space stations.
Well,
but The reason why we want to venture off to Mars is to avoid human extinction. That's why scientists said we should move to Mars. No, I mean, it's true because some of the things that
It's not true. That's a theory.
Theory, yes. But I mean, how long do you think this planet can last?
Who knows? I don't know.
And you just mentioned earlier, we're screwing up the planet.
We are. I don't know how much longer we're going to last well after we
can't guarantee that.
Nope, we can't. We just had a meteor miss us too, didn't we?
Yeah.
A huge one that was bigger than Earth. Just missed us by that much.
See, we can't guarantee that. I mean, there's a lot of different things, and science is talking about is to avoid extinction level events. Some of the events are small and some of them are large. The biggest one is asteroids.
Sure.
Because you know what happened to the dinosaurs.
We know what happens to the dinosaurs.
So we know what happened to the dinosaurs when an asteroid hit. Also, viruses. We're going through that right now.
We have a few more to go through.
Yeah.
Not a few.
That could be a virus that could spread across the entire world that can kill everyone.
What's the movie with Sylvester Stallone and the girl that played on that bus with Keanu Reeves?
Sandra Bullock.
Remember them? What was
Demolition Man.
Demolition Man. And do you remember when he awoke, how many diseases there were?
Yeah.
And that's why they couldn't they had to get permission to have, sexy time, as it were. And so, but I'm saying they named all of these viruses. That's real.
It's coming to fruition now.
And each time that they unearth something else, we talked about this before, there's going to be more. Yeah. We're not used to that type of environment and disease that is underlying under there. They keep digging. They're going to bring out something else.
A little side note about that movie, Demolition Man.
What? What about it?
Part of that movie is my favorite in all movies.
Is it part of it?
One part of it is.
What part?
When Wesley Snipes beat the brakes off of Sylvester Stallone.
Why is that your best part?
Oh my God, it is.
Is it because it was a good fight scene?
It wasn't really a fight scene. Wesley Snipes just whipped that ass. That's it. And he had this little thing that had electricity, this wand. And I know you guys have seen this movie before, but it had this wand. And he was getting ready to put it in the water. He said, "I fry your ass like a chicken." And he put it in the water, tried to shock Sylvester Stallone. But anyway, that's a good part of the movie.
I really like that movie. We should watch it tonight, actually.
A few other things that can cause extinction level events is the carbon emissions. Because, I mean, we're throwing everything that we can up in the atmosphere.
We are.
The CO2 is increasing. If the CO2 increases much more, we won't be able to breathe. Because we breathe oxygen. We can't breathe CO2.
Sure.
And nuclear war. So that's one thing that can cause us to go extinct also.
Yep. It's coming.
It doesn't matter if just two countries, even in Europe or somewhere else, China or the Middle East, if they drop a few nuclear bombs on each other, each of them pop off 10 each. I mean, that's going to cause nuclear winter and that's going to kill us off.
Yep.
So those are some things that they're going to try to avoid. And science and scientists were talking about in order for our species to survive, we'd have to become planet hoppers. So we just can't depend on one planet to survive.
See what I said? Borg.
Well, that's not assimilating, but that's just...
What are we doing?
Well,
we're using them for their resources.
Well, but there's no...
And we're probably going to take them with us.
If there's no one on the planet, we're not assimilating anything.
But what if they are?
If there are, then we say, hey,
you think we're going to come peacefully? We're not Discovery.
But if they are more technologically sound as us, we ain't even going to survive there ourselves.
No, we're not. I'm just saying, I know that we're not going to come peacefully.
But
we can't even be peaceful here.
We're talking about uninhabited planets right now.
Okay, got it.
We're not talking about aliens. We're not talking about other species or anything. Right. We're talking about the human species being able to survive. And science says in order for us to, or science theorize, no, not dictate, they theorize in order for our species to survive is to become planet hoppers. And one cool thing that I saw at a lecture that I was listening to is if we get to Mars or other planets, that there are gravity highways out there. So if there's gravity highways, it would be easier for us to planet hop because we wouldn't depend on rocket fuel or just fuel itself going from planet to planet. We can figure out how to navigate these gravity highways to the next planet.
Right.
Like Alpha Centauri, and we'll have people on Earth, we'll have people on Mars, we'll have people on Alpha Centauri. So we'll have humans on different planets. The thing about getting to Mars, I mean, there's no atmosphere on Mars. Right. And like we talked about a little earlier, that they're going to have to prepare the planet for human inhabitants.
Right.
So we would send a bunch of robots up there to build things. There will be a certain number of people, I guess, helping build things. We'll mostly depend on robotics in order to build our habitats.
Right. They're going to end up like Ice Cube in that movie. That's what's going to happen. I'm telling you. We're going to get there and we're going to think that everything's okay. And really, it's going to be those human-like people that's going to take over us.
So what we're going to continue just talking about us moving to an uninhabited planet of Mars.
You don't know. We thought it was uninhabited.
Once we get to Mars, there's so much radiation that's there. So we can't continually live on the surface of Mars because of the amount of radiation.
Sure.
So we'd have to build something with radiation shields, or we'd have to go underground. So the thought is to build things kind of half underground and half on top and make like little bubbles so we can survive in these habitats of bubbles. They also figured out ways that they can use the soil of Mars to make bricks, adding polymer to it to have a little shielding from the radiation. That's one thing that they're working on. And also suits. I saw a suit that looked like a workout outfit.
Sweet.
That blocked radiation also. But the thing about it is we still have to be able to breathe air when we get there.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know where the thought is that it would be so easy to get this done, because it'll take probably hundreds of years in order to do that.
I wouldn't say hundreds. Would you think hundreds?
This is what I listened to, is they talked about there's frozen CO2, which is pretty much dry ice. They melt the dry ice, would cause the CO2 to melt and cause moisture to come up in the air to help atmosphere. That will cause a greenhouse effect.
Right.
So that will warm the planet up a little bit. How long that would stay there, don't know, because we have a lot of things on this planet that keeps us encapsulated because of, the iron core, the sun, and all kinds of stuff. So it keeps our atmosphere. I'm not sure what would keep the atmosphere there and how long it would last. It wouldn't happen overnight if they melted these things, because if it does have an atmosphere, like I said, it would warm the planet up more. We could probably use soil to grow food, but that stuff will probably take 100 years or so to do in order for us to get to the point where we can breathe air.
Here's the thing. So I wouldn't say hundreds, because I think we're closer. The world is getting so small. I mean, think about it. There's a 12-year-old right now in Africa that just built a house just out of egg cartons or something. And it's more durable than brick. We're
talking about terraforming an entire planet to be
okay, but you
exactly
said hundreds
like this
of
one.
Years. I don't agree with
I said
100
years.
You said hundreds.
To become
plural.
breathable.
Okay. All right.
So we could live there, but we wouldn't be able to breathe the atmosphere. We wouldn't be able to breathe because there's no oxygen.
Yeah.
I think the oxygen is like 30, or the CO2 is like 33, and we breathe 21% oxygen.
Right.
So there's not enough there. So they would have to terraform it to be breathable. And
I don't know what that word means.
That just transforms the planet. Transform the planet to a livable place.
Them there.
Realistically, if we put somebody there in 2030, build the robots to build habitats, but they need power.
Right.
We have to figure out a way to get food back and forth from Earth to there in a shorter period of time, because we're not going to be able to grow our own food, and we're not going to have like animals and stuff up there.
Sure.
So we have to deal with that. And Elon Musk said in 2050, just having people relocate there. So within 30 years? You think we're going to be able to terraform that planet to become breathable air in 30 years? Or a planet where we can grow our own food?
If anybody could do what Elon could.
I don't know. There's different things they talked about on how to terraform the planet. I don't know. That's a toughie because I heard some things. Well, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I can't even come to think on how this could happen. But some science say that we could create an atmosphere, but the atmosphere wouldn't last for that long.
Right.
Because it'll just float out into space.
Sure.
So we need something to keep that atmosphere there. What? I don't know. Every 10, 20 years, we're going to have to re-terraform the planet so we can have an atmosphere.
Then maybe by then you've found another planet to hop to.
There you go. And that's the thought. And as far as like the food and things like that, you can make greenhouses to grow food, but they still need water. I saw a couple of things.
You can just pre-pack military food.
That's what they're going to give people on the way there, dried food.
Yeah, dried food.
So you would eat dried food all the time?
No, I would not. I'm just saying if I chose to live on Mars, then
that's what you would have to eat.
That's what I would have to eat. I would be okay with it if I agreed to it.
Well, if that's it, that's it.
Yeah.
But they are looking at technologies to mine asteroids for water because there's a lot of like asteroids that are floating around and comets that they're pretty much just ice.
Yeah.
So they just extract the ice, melt the ice, and then we have water. But you know what's gross about it? Just like the astronauts do now.
What?
You know what all the water would be that you would be drinking? Exactly.
That's what it is now.
That's what I just said.
Yeah.
The astronauts, you just drinking everybody's pee.
I mean, that's what us humans are drinking too.
Well, ours is a lot more diluted than it is on the space stations because on the space stations, everything just gets recycled back into the water. Here,
why do you think they have big old water tanks around the corner, sir? We have a whole plant.
No, we just don't have everybody peeing.
Where are we getting this new water from?
We don't have everybody peeing into a bucket and put it in a filter and drink it right after.
What's the difference? Ours is a much deeper process, but it's
way more diluted because we have natural water.
Which is funny to me when people say, I'm not drinking sink water. And okay, but you cook and everything else with it. It's amazing to me. And you put ice cubes in there. I don't care how many little filters you get plugged into your tank.
And I can't even believe
it's still coming from somewhere.
I can't even believe people out there.
I mean,
don't drink water at all.
Yeah, there's some people that don't drink water at all. I don't know how they do that. I mean, the gross,
kidneys are probably toe up.
It has to be.
That pee probably come out like syrup.
But by the way, I do like the reverse osmosis filter because the water does taste good. That's neither here nor there. I'm just saying we all are drinking.
Off to Pepe.
Filtered.
Back to Mars.
Yeah, back to Mars.
Another thing that I came across is when we start to planet hop, we go to Mars. So we'll have humans here on Earth.
Okay.
Humans on Mars.
Right.
If we become planet hoppers, like I said, Alpha Centauri or some other planets that we find that could be habitable for humans, is genetic alterations to adapt to the planets.
Oh, sure.
You know, you could never come back to Earth.
You could if you wore a spacesuit.
Yeah, you'd have to do the reverse.
Sure.
You know, to come back to Earth. So how much alteration? Because we're
changing our DNA right now just by the electronics and stuff that we have at our faces and heads all day. We don't even know how that's going to react later.
No, we're not talking about like that.
I'm just saying in general.
We're not talking about a change. We're talking about scientifically them altering genetics of people. So they do it now because there's genetic alterations where they can take a kid and make their eyes blue.
Sure. Oh, that's what you're talking about. I thought you meant adapting to that atmosphere and their...
No, genetic alteration. That's through science.
I missed that part when the keyword.
Okay, so through genetic alterations to adapt to whichever planet that we inhabit.
Right.
So maybe they can alter a human to be able to breathe more CO2 to live on an atmosphere like Mars. Or whichever planet.
Right.
But what would be strange about that is because we get further and further away from the sun, it's not going to be as warm. these planets.
Right. That's true.
So we would have to be able to sustain body heat with the one suit I mentioned earlier. And that's one thing that it does. It helps keep in body heat as well. So it keeps you warm because the planet is much colder.
Right.
They said in certain parts of the planet during summers that it can get up to 70 degrees, but then it can go 80 below zero.
Can you imagine?
Hell no. We wouldn't survive that. There's no chance we would be able to survive that at all.
Even like 20-degree weather. So you would not.
No, hell no. And I wonder if they did terraform the planet, how much the temperature would rise.
Are you saying terraform or terraform? I keep on hearing foreign. Okay.
So I wonder how much the temperature would rise. So if it's, say for instance, on a good day, it's 30 degrees. I wonder naturally how much it would go up. Would it go up to 50s? Would it go up to 60 degrees? Once we terraform it, it gets the greenhouse effect and warms the planet up. How warm would it be?
Right.
I don't know.
Well, then also you have to take into consideration how do you keep morale up? You're there. You never can go back.
No.
These people would eventually go cuckoo cuckoo. I mean,
if there's no entertainment there.
Not just entertainment. You mean it only could be so big. And what if you're single? You see what I'm saying? What if you're single, or what if you're married, and it's only like 50 people there? You think I want to see 50 people day in and day out for the rest of my life?
Yeah,
just 50
that's what
people?
you'll end up having to do for a while.
They're brave, but that's definitely a commitment.
Like that TV show Space Force with Steve Carell. That
I didn't see it.
Yes,
oh yes, I did.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I did. No, wait.
Yes, you did. Space Force with Steve Carell.
I don't remember it offhand.
And it was just them in their habitat there in the desert, planning to, I guess, put a base on the moon. And he found out that the Chinese were already there.
It sounds familiar.
Chinese or Japanese, I think it was, that was already there on the moon. It's a comedy. I think, was it on Hulu?
I can't even remember it.
I think it was on Netflix. So, but it was a pretty funny. It's Steve Carell.
I keep on thinking that, of course, it would definitely be funny. I was thinking about the other guy where he was an actor, the dude from House.
Yeah, no.
Do you know what show I'm talking about? That's what I thought you were talking about.
No.
Okay. Do you know the name of that show?
No, I sure don't.
But do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
The doctor from House.
I know who the doctor is from House.
And remember, he even played like he had an American accent, and then the people on the deck, on the, what do you call it?
You're talking about the comedy when they are using the spacecraft like a cruise ship.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I thought you were talking about. That I would do. I would do a cruise ship. It's
called like Fifth Avenue or something like that.
Oh, okay.
God, I can't remember. I know exactly what you're talking about, but that is that's funny. But do you remember the episode when they were
making people leave the ship?
No, not making people leave the ship. But the one episode where the toilet system went down and the poo just kind of orbited the ship.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, that's another funny show. If you've seen is
that on Netflix?
I think I don't remember, because see, the thing about these series, there's so much stuff on TV now, and they put stuff on, you watch these series, and there's so many channels, so many streaming platforms to go on, so you forget where they are.
Right.
And it takes so long for seasons to come back.
Yeah.
I know. The name of the show is called Avenue 5. So, and Hugh Laurie plays the captain of Avenue 5.
I'm not good with names, so thank you.
But that's pretty funny. So look out for that show as well. Now, that's all I have as far as the notes of it. Now let's get to the meat of it. Well, I don't want to say the meat of it because we've been talking for a while, but would I move?
Yeah, I was going to say, what?
Would I live on Mars if I had the opportunity?
Right.
I think the only way I would move to Mars is if this planet was in impending doom. So if I knew this asteroid was going to hit us in 5 years and break off half of our planet, yeah, I would do it. But as we are today, I wouldn't choose to. Because like you said, what would we do there? Because we grew up and we were born on Earth. We grew up on Earth. We know Earth. And this is all we know is Earth.
Right.
So it's not like you're going on vacation somewhere to explore some new tropical island.
Right.
It's not that. You're going to have to go to this place and figure it out.
I would have to have a lot of like Valium or something to put me to sleep and just.
I mean, but what's the point?
Exactly. I don't know. I don't think that I could do it. Just imagine it would only be a limited number of people.
Yeah, but the numbers would go up over time though. But I don't know, in your lifetime, don't know how many.
No, I have more years behind me than I do in front of me. And I can tell you, I'm not spending the remainder of them on a rock.
In 2050, be in my 80s. So they probably wouldn't even take us anyway. Saying, nah, we don't need y'all up there.
Y'all are way too.
Yeah, you know what they would do?
And we wouldn't have probably even finished the trip.
I know, hold on. This is what they would do. They say, yeah, we take all the, and you notice that, you know how they do senior cruises?
Yep.
So they would put all the 80-year-olds on this ship for the senior cruise to Mars and blow that some gun up.
Not blow it up. Sheesh.
Or they'd send it off somewhere into space.
Gosh.
You're like, we don't need y'all because, you know, Medicare's ran out and all that stuff.
Population control.
Yep. That's what they would end up doing.
What if they just put us there anyway?
And do what?
It'd be like, listen, the planet is becoming overcrowded. You've exceeded the amount of years that we thought you were going to live.
So they would put
life expectancy has changed here on Earth. So we're going to put you on Mars and with specific directions.
So they would put nursing homes on Mars.
They would put nursing. Well, think about it. When you're 80, you won't be your grandfather's 80. Or even your dad's 80. You'd be your 80. It'd be totally different. You'd be a lot healthier. Look how many people. Don't you watch TikTok? Look how many 80-year-olds right now. Well, if you don't, you probably should. Because you'll learn a whole bunch from these 80-year-olds. They're kicking butt. If you've seen the Silhouette Challenge, there's a grandma. She doesn't look like, well, she looks like a grandma if she has her glasses and her rollers in. But when she takes them off, it's a wrap. She looks great. So my point is that how we look now is going to change later.
Yeah, of course.
Excuse me. What I'm saying is that our 80 is not going to look like our grandparents. So by 80, if we say, let's go and we're in a bill of health, why not? I mean,
yeah,
bill of health for 80.
If we're going to live till we're like 120 years old, why not?
Even if we lived a year or two, think about the information they could receive back and forth.
How old people survive. They send old people to Mars to experiment on them?
Not to experiment. Well, if you're going up there with a bunch of scientists, right? Doctors, that's what that would be. You would be experimenting. They would need some regular people. So
they would take some 80-year-old man.
Sure.
And push him out the airlock and see how long it takes for him to.
No, silly. I'm just saying in general. I'd imagine that I would want an 80-year-old. I would want all age groups going.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Right now, at your age or even younger, would you go to Mars? And how would you see your life on Mars?
Boring.
Yeah, that's it. Because we don't have, are they going to build amusement parks there? Are they going to put movie theaters there? I mean, what are they going to do?
Maybe by then they might have a holodeck.
Yeah.
Because otherwise
they would need something
to keep you occupied. Similar to what we just watched with Michael and on that planet where the last
on Discovery.
Yeah, on Discovery.
Go for a walk. God, all I see is damn rocks.
Yeah.
Everywhere, cold outside and rocks.
Well, the cool part about it, I mean, even look when we stay at the hotel, when you look out the window, They have the shades to where it looks like you're looking outside
looking at something.
Now. Yeah. Remember the trees and the forest?
Scenic shades.
They'll probably have that. So.
Yeah, they would need something. I mean, you can base, every few, because what you could do is like a lot of TV shows and movies that we see that in the future, they can have just exactly like you said, they can have a window, and the window is not really a holodeck, but it's just a view.
Sure.
Of a city, a view of a beach or whatever. And you can have the noise that, the birds and the water and all that stuff.
The sun is important.
I mean, they could do stuff like that, and a big HD TV across the window. I mean, I couldn't even imagine because, I can't even imagine.
What would happen to being fertile? You know what I mean? You're on another planet.
I know. The kids would be born on Mars, and they probably, like I said earlier, they couldn't come back to Earth.
Nope.
Because they would be born there, and they would be adapted and adjusted to Mars.
Only.
Yeah.
Until we planet hop again. And they would be the trainees, actually. They would be the ones that we would say, okay, you're rearing in space, and this planet is not yours. That's all they would know is we used to live on Earth, and this is where we are now. Let's train you here, and this is why you're here, for our species.
And I forgot to mention that they've been noticing on the space stations, long-term weightlessness or low gravity causes eye problems.
Wow. Okay.
Permanent eye damage.
Sheesh. It would be interesting to see what strives they would make towards it. But I have one last thing.
What's that?
It's neither here nor there, but it's something to think about. You can TikTok it if you want. Can you tell TikTok is my thing? But the question was raised by scientists: is ice a rock?
No.
And if ice is a rock, then that would mean that water is the lava. I can't go into the whole thing. I'll show you the video later for it. And he brings up a good point, but the person said, "Oh, now you're a lava monster." Though that's what we are. How much of percentage are we water?
Are we talking about a real scientist?
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Does he teach at a university?
Someone
Does he have a
asked the
PhD?
question, and he said, "Well, kinda," and then he explained it. No.
Lava is heat.
Let me finish. Just look it up and then get your answer. You guys let us know what you think. It's just a random question. I'll show you the video later. And if it's,
similar to the video that we were watching the other night that I showed you about the master martial artist knocked this person out with a touchless punch.
Yes. No, it's not like that. I'll show it to you because I'm not explaining it right. You guys just look it up.
No,
wait till you see what I'm saying. Don't be so close-minded. It's funny either way what he says, but look, the answer is interesting.
Yeah, funny.
No, the answer is interesting. What I'm saying, it's real life. I promise you. I promise.
And okay, if he's a real scientist and he's got PhDs behind it, he actually went to school and has a title as a scientist.
Either way, it sets itself for a great argument because what he says, it's a great argument. You guys got to look for him. Look for it on TikTok.
Okay. So you've already said at the top of the show that you would not live on Mars.
Nope.
And I say it right now. I would not live on Mars either.
And what's funny was I was about to say, you couldn't pay me, but really what would be the point of payment?
You can't spend it on anything.
Yeah, because it would be obsolete at that point.
Before we wrap this up, the thing is, we're going to move to another planet or planet hop to other planets. So we're going to just tear the shit out of all these planets and move from planet to planet to planet. Do you know what I mean? So It's just like you're renting a house. You tear that damn house up as soon as you mess it up to the utmost that you can. You just move to another house.
But also it's human nature to barter. So what are we going to barter? Dilithium? I mean, what are we?
Let's not talk about.
Do you see what I'm saying? It's our human nature. What are we going to do with 50 people on a rock?
Because what will happen?
What are we bartering?
Just like I was was going to or getting to is once we get there, people are going to screw the planet up. People are going to start fighting just like here because we're not going to be the only ones on the planet. So I'm talking about Americans. So
Sure.
China, Russia, all these other countries are eventually going to do the same thing. I mean, I don't see why we can't collaborate as a human race to do this,
Sure.
but of course they're not.
Right.
If we're doing it separate, we're going to end up competing exactly like we do here on Earth. There's going to be wars and things, and it's going to be much easier if we don't get the planet habitable, because all you have to do is, like they did on that show that we're watching, Space Force, they just pop their bubble and they're all dead if they were really on the moon.
Right.
So if we're on the Mars and, the Russians or whatever could pop our bubble, and the human or the Americans are all gone.
They're all gone. Yeah, that's true.
It's crazy. So, I mean, I can't imagine.
There's a lot of things to consider.
There is a lot of things. And they're considering
not just even just talking about Americans alone. There are people that don't like us. So you have to take in consideration sabotage.
So we'd have to come together as a species to do something like that in order for the species to survive.
Sure.
Because it'll be a constant battle. It doesn't matter what and how many planets that we go to. This will continue to happen. Our sun won't last forever, but there's other stars out there like the sun that we can get closer to. And, either a younger sun, younger star, younger sun.
Right.
So we can continue to do that. And how far? I mean, the universe as we know it is vast. So,
right.
Who knows what the future holds?
Well, before we go, I know we're about to wrap up. I just want to say thank you for all the downloads. Thank you for listening. Thank you for entertaining us all this time. Shout out to you, our listeners. And if you haven't already, share with your friends and like us.
Share.
And comment. I'd love to hear from you.
Yes. And like we mention constantly, if you do have any questions, or if you'd like to be on the show, you can email it to us at johncarter@mysteriesandbeliefspodcast.com.
If you want to be on the show, if you have questions, concerns, comments,
anything, communicate. Feedback, do something out there. But you can email it to us at johncarter@mysteriesandbeliefspodcast.com. We can share your story on the show. You can be on the show with your story. Do you have anything else you'd like to add to this?
Nope.
Until next time.
Peace.
Bye-bye.